You know those arguments, the ones we just replay in our heads over and over again for years? Well, today we're going to dive into the longest feuds we carry, and yeah, they're the ones inside ourselves, and figure out how we can finally silence that echo.
So to really get a handle on this internal battle, we got to start with a really powerful, almost ancient idea. It's a word that just perfectly captures what a long, bitter conflict feels like.
Vendetta. I mean, it sounds so dramatic, right? Like something straight out of a history book. It's all about this long, drawn-out cycle of getting back at each other. But you know what? The most fascinating vendettas aren't between warring families. They're the ones we wage against ourselves.
Okay, so let's put aside the whole feuding families thing for a sec and make this super personal. Just ask yourself this: what would actually change in your life if you just stopped? If you stopped rehearsing those old, tired arguments you have with yourself? It's a great question, right? Because if these arguments don't actually help us, why in the world do we cling to them so tightly? Well, the answer is kinda weird. It lies in the strange comfort we seem to find in that conflict. Yeah, it really boils down to comfort. Think about it. An old argument is like a well-worn path in the woods. It feels safe, but only because it's so familiar. It seems reliable because, hey, we've used it 100 times before. When we feel cornered, it becomes our go-to, our last resort, and a lot of the time that surface-level familiarity just feels like it's enough to get by.
And this, right here, this is the heart of the problem. We tell ourselves, oh, this old argument feels safe, it's familiar, but we never stop to ask the real question: is it actually the best one? We think, I can rely on this, but we don't ask, is it even useful anymore? The hard truth is, a lot of the time we're just recycling an argument we don't even fully believe in. And maybe, just maybe, that's because it's covering up a weak spot we're not quite ready to look at.
Okay, so how do we break this cycle? How do we stop leaning on these flimsy, comfortable arguments and actually build something stronger? Well, it takes work. It means building a totally new, much more solid foundation for how we think. And we build this new foundation piece by piece. Step 1, you have to be brave enough to actually question that old argument. Step 2, you got to acknowledge the truth, even if, and especially if, it stings a little. And from that point, you can start to build a new pillar of reasoning, one that's based on what's real, not just what's been repeated. That is the path to real clarity.
And this is so important. The goal here isn't just to get rid of something old because it's old. This isn't about tossing out nostalgia. It's about realizing you've been leaning on a rickety old fence and deciding, you know what, I'm going to build a solid pillar of reasoning that's actually strong enough to stand on.
All right, we've called out the vendetta. We've laid out the blueprint for a new foundation. Now it's time to finally silence the echo of that old inner feud.
Because when you get right down to it, the most prolonged vendetta, that one conflict that feels like it lasts a lifetime, it's not the one you're having with your family or your friends or your boss or anyone else.
The longest echo is the one you keep shouting into your own chest. Let that sink in for a second. It's that argument you just keep replaying inside yourself, on a loop. The conflict that goes on and on is the one we refuse to end inside our own heads. So, the solution, it's actually beautifully simple. Doesn't mean it's easy, but it is simple. Letting go. That's it. That is how you quiet the echo. That's how you end the vendetta.
And so I want to leave you with one final question, a powerful one for you to take with you. What echo, what old argument, what internal feud are you finally ready to silence?